there, and welcome back to Knits in the Wild. My name is Jen, and welcome to my knitting channel. So it's been a while since I've recorded. Life just happens to get in the way, and I just didn't really have much time to work on some knitting projects or record an episode, but I have finished a few things over the last few weeks, and I'm ready to share those things. So thanks for tuning in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jen, and I'm coming to you from the capital region of upstate New York in the Albany area. And I live here with my husband and our two cats, Cedric and Phoebe. So welcome. Um, Hope everyone has had a great spring so far. Let's just jump right in. I'm wearing my traveler hoodie that I finished a couple weeks ago now. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and I was working on this as part of the DRK March to May knit along for my sweater. And I knit this with West Yorkshire Spinners BFL DK that I got at my local yarn shop, CeCe's Yarn. I had gotten a gift card for Christmas, so I used that some of that to purchase this yarn, and it came out really great. It's really soft. It's really cozy. This stitch pattern is very stretchy, so it's a little big, but it fits really cozy. So I'll just stand up so you can see. I believe I knit the body to about 15 inches and comes like right below my belly button here, which I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. And the sleeves are pretty wide, pretty deep sleeves. It's a drop shoulder construction, knit from the bottom up. Um, yeah, so this is my traveler hoodie, and you can see the hood, which I didn't pick up enough stitches for the hood, and I had to kind of finagle the short rows, but I was worried the hood was going to be too big, so I was okay with that. It came out actually perfect. So it's my first time making a hood. Um, it's really cute. For my I-cord drawstring, I used some scrap yarn I had lying around in this pretty hot pink color, which I absolutely love. So yeah, this is my traveler hoodie by Andrea Mowry. And let's see, what else can I say about this? So yeah, this stitch pattern grows a lot when blocking. So the pattern tells you to knit the sleeves and the body to a certain length, and then it will grow when you block it out. So my sleeves were pretty short before I blocked it. They're still kind of shorter than I would have liked, but I'm okay with it. They come to about here, which is okay for me. Um, yeah, it's really cozy. It took me about 2 months to make. Normally it takes me like a month to make a sweater if I'm like really sticking to it and that's all I'm knitting on. But I don't knit as much as I was at one point. So it took me a little longer than normal. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. I made the size 4. Um, I would have to look and see what the chest circumference is for the size 4. I don't remember exactly, but there's a lot of positive ease in this sweater, which is fine by me. Makes it cozy. Yeah, so I really like that. Um, so my next finished object is another sweater that I had finished a couple months ago that I love. I'm so happy with this sweater. So this is my Heritage Harbor pullover, which is designed by Samantha Guerin. You can see it. absolutely love this sweater. It is probably the best fitting sweater I've ever made. I believe I made the size 5. This is knit with Battenkill Fibers DK Corriedale yarn in this medium green yellow color. And this is a locally spun and locally milled yarn made at Battenkill Fibers, which is in Washington County, New York, that I picked up about a year ago when I went to the Washington County Fiber Tour. And I love this yarn. It doesn't pill. It is like, it almost feels woolen spun, but I don't think it is. It might be like half woolen spun or partial. I don't know what they call it, but it's so cozy and like really like a hard working yarn, but it's not scratchy. It's really soft. And also my contrast color, these stripes are Harrisville Designs nightshades. And this is the color, let me see here. I think I still have a skein left over here somewhere. Maybe not. Anyway, oh. So this is the yarn I used, the main color, the Battenkill Fibers yarn. I have one skein left. Um, oh, this is this is all I had left from that one skein of nightshades. I think the color is Streetlight, but I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that. Yeah. So this is another drop shoulder construction sweater that was knit from the bottom, I think. Why can't I remember that? Anyway, this was my first time doing the Italian bind off for cuff and hem, and I think it came out pretty good. Um, yeah, it was time consuming, but I think it looks really good. It's a great sweater to wear to work, I think. Um, yeah, really cute. Love this sweater. Great pattern. Highly recommend. Um, highly recommend it if you're looking for a nice polished sweater. Okay, next up we have my finally finished shawl. So I decided to finish my satellite shawl for Andrea Mowry's March to May knit along for shawls because it was almost done. My satellite shawl that I started in August of last year. Um, Finally finished it. It's massive, massive shawl. So I knit this with the yarn that it called for the main color is by BienAmiee in the Helix, which is two lace weight yarn, two lace weight balls held double to get this, like, I want to say like sport weight maybe, but the main color here is this French gray right there. And the yarn it called for the contrast colors is BienAmiee's Alpaca Kumo, which I didn't buy. I bought Lang Yarns Alpaca Superlight, which is a really affordable version of Laceway Alpaca, which worked great because I color matched the colors to the original shawl. And I think it looks exactly the same. I think it looks, and these are the exact colors I wanted, the exact colors in her sample, and it came out, looks the same. For a fraction of the price for the alpaca yarn. So I'm very pleased with that, and it's so soft. And the BienAmiee yarn, the Helix, is a mix of 75% wool Falkland wool, and then 25% Gotland. So it's got this gray, like heather look to it with this like gorgeous fuzzy halo. So it's beautiful. And it has a mix of brioche, garter stripes, and then short rows up here in the dark pink. So I just love how it looks. It's an asymmetrical shawl, which is one of my favorite kinds of shawls to wear. So this is how I would wear it typically. Like so. I had wanted to finish this for the winter, but I didn't get to finish it in time. And it's kind of getting warm now. It's like in the 50s and 60s, which is still shawl weather, but yeah. So here's my satellite shawl. Very happy with that. Yeah. So anything else to say about this? Oh, the bind off for this was an I-cord bind off of like over 300 stitches, and it took me forever to do, but it looks great. It's really good. Yeah, so this is my other finished object. I mean, this shawl is so big I can use it as a lap blanket. Like, I love it. So that is it for finished objects. I do have a half finished object that I could show you. I just have to grab it. A sock. So I started these socks a million years ago, and I finally finished one of them. I haven't even cast on for the second one, which is probably a mistake because I usually cast on right away. So I just, so I know I have it started and can work on it, but I haven't done that yet. So this sock is knit using Farmer's Daughter Fibers, one of their sock yarns, and the name is escaping me right now, but it's a superwash yarn that I got as part of their sock club last year. I think it's called lupine or something, like the color of the purple wildflower. And I held this with some purple mohair that I had in my stash to get this fuzzy sock, which I have done before with socks and I really like it. So I did it again. Just got to finish the other one. So this sock isn't blocked or anything. Literally just finished it and it's just waiting for its match. So my next work in progress is another old project that I don't know if I shared or not. I can't remember, but it's old news at this point because it's been a long time since this pattern has been released. But I decided last year that I wanted to do the Stephen West knit along or the mystery knit along GeoGradient. So I purchased yarn from Sonder Yarn Co., which I think I shared that yarn with you in this in four beautiful colors. The names are escaping me right now, but I will link them below. But these are the four colors that I purchased for the GeoGradient. And this yarn is gorgeous. It's this woolly, soft, fingering weight yarn from Sonder Yarn Co., which is a Canadian company. I think they're from Montreal, which is not that far from me. So I made it to, I think, clue 3 in this pattern. And then I saw clue 4 and I was not motivated to work on it. So I put it on hold. So it's been on hold since October. But I decided to pull it out, take a look at it, and see where I stand here and share what I had. So this is what I have so far. I have one wing done. And then that's what it looks like up close. And I love the colors of this. And then that's the main body part of the shawl. We've got these pretty eyelets that I held with some alpaca to make them fuzzy. So I left off on this last part here on this other wing that I just have to finish. And then I have to pick up stitches at the bottom for the border. And I don't know yet if I'm going to follow the pattern for the border or just do my own thing and maybe do some garter stripes just to get it off the needles and finish, because that border section looked pretty complicated and I just want to get this thing done and off the needles so I can move on with my life, because this was a lot of work. There was a lot of drama and I'm not ripping it out because there's so many ends, and like, look at that. There's so many ends. I'm not ripping that out to try to reuse this yarn. This yarn was for this project, and that's how it's going to stay. So yeah, this is my GeoGradient. Yeah, and I'm planning on finishing this. This will probably be, I mean, I don't know when I'm going to finish this, to be honest. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. And I just realized I have my US 4 needles that have been missing for the last 6 months. They've been on this project, so that's where they've been. Good to know. All right, so that's my GeoGradient. So, speaking of shawls, I started another shawl yesterday. So I'm using, this is going to be my birthday knit. So I started a shawl called the Star Sign Shawl, or Star Sign Sampler Shawl, designed by Graffiti, who I follow on Instagram. And I saw this shawl the other day and decided it would look really great with some of the yarn I have in my stash. And the yarn is pretty special because I purchased one of these skeins at the Adirondack Wool and Fiber Festival that happened last September at Washington County Fairgrounds. And the dyer is a local dyer as well. And I believe this dyer has been at like Rhinebeck or some other. She was at another yarn festival or wool festival, but this is the label, Lamb Strings Yarn. She's very nice. Told me that she lived in the town that I grew up in, which was really cool. Not that far from here. And this yarn is it says hand dyed on the Hudson in New York. So, yeah, lamb strings. And this is the colorway Rapture. This beautiful, dark, moody, which I love that about her colorways. They were all gorgeous like this. And this yarn is called Fawn. That's the base. It is 80% superwash merino and 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. It's 414 yards for 100 grams. And this is one of the colors I'm using in the shawl, along with the skein that I bought a while ago called, this is Spun Right Round yarn. This one is dyed in Rochester, New York, which is not local. It's about 3 hours away, but still a New York yarn, which is awesome. And this colorway is called Pinky Swear, and I just absolutely love this color. The gold speckles, the magenta speckles, pink, purple, love it. So these two together are the two main colors of the shawl I'm making. And this yarn is just called their classic sock yarn, and it is just 100% superwash merino, and it is 438 yards for 100 grams. So the shawl also uses 5 mini skeins for more contrast colors, which I do have mini skeins, but nothing that really matches these colors. So I decided to just use some other yarn I had in stash. So these are the 2 other colors. Instead of 5, I think I'm just going to go with 2 because these 2 matched the main colors best. So these are some scraps I had left over from when I made my Musselburgh hat. And this is alpaca and wool blend. Um, the name of this yarn is escaping me, but I think I can't remember. I'll have to link it below, but it's really soft. It's really bright, which I think will make a great contrast stripe for the shawl. And also this like goldenrod color, which this is just basic Cascade sock yarn. Um, that is going to be another contrast color, I believe. And this is what I have. It's not that exciting of the shawl so far. Tiny little end here. So the fun thing about this pattern is that the designer said in her Instagram post that it's called the star sign shawl because she is a Taurus, and the little pattern here, this is a brioche pattern, they said, and she said it kind of looked like the Taurus bull, which I guess I can kind of see it. These little horns, like maybe like little horns, I don't know. But I'm also a Taurus, so I thought it would be fun to make. And I'll pop up a photo of the finished shawl so you can see what it looks like. But it looked really fun, bright colors, like something different that I normally don't make shawls like that. Plus, I wanted to really focus on some brioche and learn a new stitch pattern, which this is a new stitch pattern for me, this brioche stitch. It's not your typical brioche like row columns like these, which the shawl does have brioche stitches like this too, but this one is just a different texture, which I thought was cool. And it really showcases, I think it really will really showcase the hand-dyed yarns that I picked for this pattern. Um, and there's also some lace stripes, which I think this will look really pretty with that. A bright pop of pink and yellow will, I think, look really good. But yeah, so that's the Star Sign Sampler Shawl by Knit Graffiti. So next up, I wanted to talk about a little bit, like I know that some people talk about in their podcasts about what they're reading, watching, listening to, doing in their lives. So I decided to add a section like that in this podcast. So what I've been watching lately, so my husband and I found a show on Apple TV Plus called Manhunt, which is about the search for John Wilkes Booth, who is the person that assassinated Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War era. So we started and finished that show in like a week or so. It was really good. If you like Civil War history, I highly recommend it. It was really good. We both really like watching like historical dramas like that, so I highly recommend that. Um, and we last night we also started the show Franklin about Benjamin Franklin, which just happened to pop on after that we finished the last episode of Manhunt, and that first episode was pretty good too, which is about obviously Benjamin Franklin and the history during the Revolutionary War, which we were both talking about how like we don't really like we learned about it in school, but it's not really a part of history that I'm like that familiar with, which is kind of silly because it's the history of this country. So I definitely want to learn more about that, and I think it's really interesting and fascinating. So yeah, and what I've been reading, I haven't been reading anything recently. I normally listen to audiobooks when I knit, but I haven't been doing that in a while. Um, the one I just most recently finished, which was like a couple months ago, was Demon Copperhead, which I loved. It was so good. I'm not gonna like give you a rehash of the book, but it's about a young boy who grows up in poverty and just like all these horrible things happen to him, and It's written by Barbara Kingsolver, and it was really, really good. So, highly recommend that book if you like those kind of stories. But really good. And also, what I've been listening to lately. So, I've recently gotten into vinyl, which my husband we ended up with two record players. So we have one upstairs, and then we have one that is down here on the main living floor. So I have been listening to a lot of vinyl lately. So last month, at the end of the month, my sister and my friend and I went to a concert. We went to go see Fall Out Boy, which they were one of my favorite bands when I was younger. I started listening to them in like 2004 when I was 18 years old, and they were one of my favorite bands for many years. And I saw them live a bunch of times in the early 2000s. So when their concert popped up here in Albany, we were like, we should go to that because the last time we saw them was like 15 years ago in 2008 or 9, I believe. So we went to that, and they had put on an amazing, amazing show. I went into it blind. Like I didn't look up anything about the concert or what they were going to be doing. And I was so thrilled with everything. They played a mix of older songs. They played a lot of their newer songs, which at the time I wasn't really familiar with. So after the concert, I purchased their newest record called So Much for Stardust, and it is phenomenal. Like, if you like that kind of music, if you grew up listening to emo and like pop punk like I did when I was younger, I highly recommend that album. It sounds like one of their older it sounds like their older music, which I love, love, love. And I've just been obsessed with it over the last month or so. Um, that I actually bought two copies of their vinyl because they had two different, well, they have more than two, but the two I found, I like purchasing the colored special edition vinyls just because they're pretty and they're cool to look at. And I ended up buying two of their different colored vinyls. So I have one of each, which I will show you in case you want to see it. Right. So feel free to skip this part if you have zero interest in vinyl, but I'm going to share. This is their most recent album that came out last year. This is just their clear, milky clear vinyl. Isn't it cool? So I have been listening to this a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Like every single song on this album is amazing. I think there's maybe only one that I skip, but my husband and I also went to a record store in Troy, which is just down, maybe 15 minutes away from where we live. And I found two records that, to add to my collection. One I left upstairs, so I'm not going to go grab that. But one record that I found was Death Cab for Cutie's Narrow Stairs, one of my favorite albums. This album is, I want to say, like 15 years old at this point, maybe more. But again, Death Cab is one of my favorite bands. I'm actually going to go see them in a couple weeks. They're playing a show with the Postal Service, the same lead singer, two bands. I'm extremely excited about that. But yeah, I found this at a record store, Narrow Stairs, one of my favorite albums of theirs. So I've been listening to that in preparation for the concert. They will be playing Transatlanticism, their album that came out in 2003. And they're going to be playing that in its entirety. And the Postal Service will be playing this, which is their one and only album that came out in 2003 as well. And this has my favorite one of my favorite songs of all time, if not my favorite song of all time, called Such Great Heights, which I'm sure you probably know that song. It's pretty popular, or was pretty popular. Um, so this album I bought last year for the 20th anniversary of this album release, and I'm going to share it because it's beautiful. It's this beautiful blue. Beautiful. Like, look at that. Like, when that is spinning on your record player, it is just amazing to look at. So I am super excited for that concert. Again, Death Cab's one of my favorite bands. So I decided to add a little section into this podcast because I've been listening to these albums while I knit. Also ordered another one of my favorite bands. This album by the Shins came out more than 20 years ago at this point. 2001 is when this was released, but I think this album, so the Shins are a band that I found in like 2002 or 3, I believe, when I was in college, because I watched the movie Garden State and then they were on the soundtrack to that. So then I immediately downloaded this album. And I love it. So this is also a 20th anniversary album, and it is just beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. So that is what I've been listening to. And I think that's about all I have to share with you guys today. So I hope everyone's having a great day, great weekend. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. I do really enjoy making these videos, so give me a thumbs up or a like or subscribe if you want to help out my channel. It means a lot to me if you would do that. But yeah, thanks for joining and enjoy the rest of your day.